Market analyst is with me in the studio, Mukhtar Muhammed. He joins me in the studio despite the holidays. Thank you very much for being here, Mukhtar. I wish you the same. Let's start with Parkintola Williams before we go into our discussion. I looked at that. Look at that man. He has his hands everywhere. Say something about him. I'm looking at the stock market, looking at the business world, the boardroom giant.
You know what excites me about it? When he said he's still playing the market he did, and he started the market over 60 years ago, and he's still playing the market he did. So that gives me confidence that since I'm playing the market, I will live up to above 100.
I think I must play the market too.
So he's there.
But it's really, you know, comments from everywhere. Even President Buhari came out to say, Nigeria will always be proud of you. You know, everybody comments from governors.
He's a man of integrity. He's a man that has never had his hands still. He's a man that has kept his professionalism in everything. And he's a man that has been above board. He's one man that has not come out to criticize any government, policy, anything, but he has his medium of communication with these people. And I think he's highly respected, not only in Africa, but globally.
Yeah, that's a good one. Let's move on. Let's move on before we move away from our discussion. It's really interesting. I really want to say much about it, but let's move on now. Let's look at the market. It's been that same thing we talk about, the up, the down. But I think this time, a lot of losses from the exchange. You know, even let's go back a little now, even before the elections. About $50 million were lost ahead of the elections. And these losses, we've been on that pedestal for some time. What is really happening?
Tolu, you cannot separate economic indices from market data. That's what we need to know. The market is a reflection of the economy. So what is happening in the economy will surely play a bigger role in the market, because most of these equities that you have seen here that are listed also in the market. I mean, in the market are playing in the economy. But then you need to look at it this way again. The other way is, why you see what you've seen over the time is that the economy fundamentals is not very strong at the moment. The market fundamentals is still strong. But for us to see that bullish run that we expect for a long time, to see the market recovery full time, there needs to be a balance both between the market fundamentals and economic fundamentals. So for now, we have the market fundamentals look very strong. That's why you see sometimes you see the equity moved, you see some little bit of gain, but it's short-lived because the market needs the economic fundamentals to boost that type of growth, that type of rally that we need to see, that people will say, at last, the market has really recovered. But for now, we are playing with the market fundamentals, which is still good. And that is why it gives people a lot of opportunity to take advantage of the market now, because most of this good equity with good fundamentals are selling at 52 weeks low, and which give room for discerning investors, because if you look at it, the volume have not gone down, especially in those strong fundamentals companies. But in terms of the perception, especially the foreign investors, like you said in your report, clear-cut policies on how we want to move this economy have not been set by this government.
We have ministers now, so, you know,
the minister names did not excite the market, because the list was, it more like same of same, because the market was expecting technocrat, was expecting a lot of people. But when you look at the list, you look at who is going to be the finance minister. You're going to have the same person. I'm not still saying, but I can bet you that we are going to have Zenat Ahmed coming back as finance minister. We already have the CBN governor, the MFLA is also there. Those are the two big things. And now, when you look at it, what keeps the economy going throughout the last 4 years were the monetary policies. We keep on trying to tickle the economy, trying to control the inflation. So even at the point, even intruding into areas that were not, like giving loans directly to farmers, giving loans, trying to revive the textile industry. These are things that are supposed to be played by the fiscal policy, which has to do with the government. But unfortunately, they didn't have their act together. The Economic Recovery Growth Plan came to be, and that plan is still in the laboratory. According, they keep saying it's still in the laboratory, still doing some ticking up of those plans. So that's the challenge they have.
We are still going to talk more about what the fiscal side and the monetary side, what each they need to do to actually get it right and to get our economy working. No excuses. We got to move on as a nation. Now, the stock exchange should also catalyze listing of more companies. With this environment, do you see that playing out? We know of MTN coming in lately, Airtel and all of that. How well would you say the market is doing when it comes to listing more companies?
I think they've done done well. If you have two giants, Airtel and MTN, those are the two major players in the telecom sector, and then Globacom is the other one that is not there. So for me, I think they've done well in attracting those giants. They still have to do more, especially when you look at our economy is being driven in terms of our economy is driven by the crude, by the petroleum sector. We don't have those major. What we have is the marketing company listed in the stock exchange. So they need to begin to see how they can attract them, especially if the PIB bill is going to come into play. So we need most of these corporations to become private players. Then if you look at why I said it's a little bit good, because when you look at the telecom sector that's coming into the market, it's more or less a sector that is consumer driven, because most of Nigerians are using that sector. Most of us will buy a recharge card every day. Yeah. We do data services and everything. So also that plays out. But if you look at even the numbers from MTN and the numbers that comes in from Airtel, realize data is what people are really using these days, not really in terms of only the WhatsApp, the data thing seems to be what is being, because they also as consumers are looking for ways to bring down their own costs, just like the companies that are listed. But I think the NSC has done well to be able to attract MTN, even if you say MTN was attracted to the market through government policy, government insisting that they will be listed. Yeah. So, but then the NCE, the Nigerian Stock Exchange, created the environment, enabling environment for them to be listed. So you give it to them. For them to even attract Airtel that had no issue with the government also is a plus to them. So we expect we'll see more of this company coming, because the stock exchange is where you have access to cheap funds, which will help in growing your company and in turn grow the economy. And then it brings room for public participation. It brings room for ownership. And so people are able to say, look, I own this company. I'm a part shareholder of this company. I need this company to work well.
Let's move now to the analyst. When my intro, we talked about Omoridion, who was talking about threats, already talking about implementation or actualization of this budget, whichever way we want to put it. Now, we're looking at a budget that crude oil price is benchmarked at $60. And at the moment, that is under threat. US and China, the trade war continues. It's getting worse. We see tariffs and all of that everywhere, all around town. Where do we stand? Where do you see Nigeria standing in all of this?
Ordinary
Africa's most populous nation. I like using that term because it's something that makes, I think, our leaders would think that this nation is actually blessed. Resources, human and natural resources.
Look, Tolu, the challenge we have is that if we get our act together, when the two elephants are fighting, the grass will suffer. But in this term, if the two elephants are fighting, then the grass begin to look for opportunity to grow somewhere else. And Nigeria should have been that opportune place where the elephants will come because of our populations. But unfortunately, we have not gotten our acts together. So I think China-US war would have created advantage for other superpowers to come into stream and begin to, because then when you have that war, the Chinese will be looking for other avenue to do business. The US also will be looking for other avenue to do business. Just like we see when the Brexit thing was high, when the European Union, the French president visited Nigeria, immediately after that, the UK Prime Minister visited Nigeria immediately, because he knows that Nigeria also is a superpower when it comes. They need to do business with Nigeria. They, as United Kingdom, since the EU was already coming in to say, look, we're going to be alone. So they had to do their own. So that is what it could happen if we do the right thing, if we have to do the right thing. So, but unfortunately, we've not done the right thing. Look, if you talk about the oil price, to look, if you remember when I said that benchmark was dead at arrival, because at the time they fixed the benchmark at $60 per barrel. Remember at that time, oil price, the day they sent that benchmark, the day that budget was signed, oil price was $56 per barrel. So we're already short of $4 per barrel. So then we're saying that, look, will the president take it back to them and say, look, we need to create a buffer, we need to save, we need to begin to think of building up a sovereign wealth fund like every oil economic does. But unfortunately, the president signed it into law, and now we are in where we are. Already in debt of about trillion, already servicing about 75% to 80% of our budget is for debt servicing. So we have 20% fighting for a lot of things. And in a country whereby we already have infrastructural decay, it's not looking good at all. Something drastic needs to be done. And that has to come from the political will and the economic will to do what is right.
Staying with that political will and economic will to do it right. Now, do you expect any loosening of monetary policy? We've said, yes, there's a tight stance by the Monetary Policy Committee. Now, are you expecting any change at this time? Because GDP still remains where we are, and there's even fear of recession one way or the other.
Look, Tolulope, where even when we came up, the CBN already known that we're living in a fragile economy. And even when we went out for recession, they said the recession is fragile. Like I always say, what took us out of recession was not any rocket science. Oil price went up. We started attracting, the CBN created the import-export window. Yes. We started attracting hot money, not direct foreign investors. We attracted portfolio investors that bring down what's happening in the market. Now the portfolio investors are beginning to pull out, and then you see the downside of the market. So what do we need to do? Unfortunately, as it stands now, it's not time to panic, but it's not time to loosen up, because there's a lot of economic indices that are not working to our advantage. Because when you loosen up, you have to contend with the monster called inflation. When you loosen up, you have to talk, if you don't loosen up, you have to contend with the cost of borrowing, which SMEs will not have access to from, because the cost of borrowing is high. And you see the CBN is trying to do that with banking, coming up with other areas, thinking of how banks should keep over 60%. If you keep above that amount with CBN, you will not attract any interest, trying to stylishly force the bank to give into SMEs. But you ask yourself, in an economy like this, if you're a businessman, if you are into financing, will you confidently finance an economy that it doesn't look strong then? If you do that, then you have shareholders to talk to. You have shareholders to confront, and you have to give them results. So we are in a dilemma, but it's not something that we cannot deal with. It's like I said, the political will must be there, the economy will, because the economy will have to do with a lot of things that will affect the political side of it. And sometimes our politicians don't want to hear that, because some of our politicians say giving of employment, having DGs, having special advisor as means of social investment, which is not supposed to be.
Let's round this up in this way. We have just 3 days more work for this week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. What do you think would happen? NSE, what are your expectations? Any magic? No magic.
No magic. The only magic that will happen is that the result will come, so then we'll see some movement. Maybe we are expecting some of these banks to come out with their mid-year result, which some of them have come out, which is not very bad, which is still good. Like I said, the fundamentals are still strong. Great. But to say whether we'll see a drastic change and a drastic movement, I don't think so yet. We need to see we need to see the economic clear policy. We need to see if we still have the same person as Minister of Finance. We need to see what she will come up with. We need to see how the government will attend to the budget issue. But the good thing is that we may not go through the challenge that we have through in terms of foreign reserve, in terms of liquidity in the budget, in the foreign, mostly with Forex, because the bank has so much liquid of this Forex these days. That's why people that are even traveling, they have access to withdraw from their ATM and others. So we may not come to that challenge, but we need to address it holistically inside. Market analyst Mukhtar Muhammed, thank you very much for your time. Always a pleasure. Baraka Salah. I hope the RAM is still outside. Yes, we are going to get that immediately after this. Let's just go off camera, and we are going to get that. We need to eat some meat. That's our show again for today. Thank you for watching. We'll do this again tomorrow as usual, same time. Let's meet. We'll talk more about the economy. Bye.